Hi there, Lorenzo. My name is Ashley. I'm a student physical therapist at Owens Community College, and today I'm doing some strengthening and stretching with you to help with your lateral epicondylitis. I know you started experiencing this pain 2 days ago, so we're going to be really careful with these strengthening and stretching exercises. And if you see me looking over, I'm just looking at some notes that I have here for you. So the first thing that I want to address with you is your elbow flexion. So this would be just bringing the arm up. And what I want to do with you for this is I want you to be doing a prayer stretch, what we call. So one reason I chose to do this stretch for you is to help with your range of motion. I noticed that you had 127 degrees of this motion, and the normal is 145, so this will help to increase that range of motion so that you can perform that within the full range. Second reason why I chose to do this stretch with you is to help you to get back to work. I know that you're probably using a hammer and carrying your supplies, so this will help you to bring those things up and to carry your tools. So for this stretch, I want you to bring your hands together like this. So your palms are going to be flat against each other, and your hands are going to be facing the ceiling. Your fingers will be. And then all I want you to do is I want you to just extend your elbows until you feel a slightly uncomfortable stretch, but nothing to reproduce any pain. I want you to hold this stretch for 30 seconds and then relax. So a couple of things to keep in mind as you're doing this stretch. I want you to be nice and straight as you're doing this. So your elbow, or not your elbows, these are your shoulders. Your shoulders should be level as you're performing this. One should not be higher than the other. Your back should be straight, and your feet should either be flat on the floor or you should be sitting flat on the floor as you are bringing your elbows straight down. One thing that I don't want you to do while you're doing this stretch is to bring your fingers too far away from your face or back towards your face. They should be really in line with your forearms, and you should just be able to bring it down like that. One thing that you can do as you're performing this stretch to make sure you're stretching the right muscle is to put your hand on the bottom of your forearm on the same side as your palm. And then as you bring your hand away from the ceiling, so like you could even do this like against a table or something like that, you can feel the muscles under here start to stretch, and that will tell you that you are performing the stretch correctly. One thing that I will do as you're performing the stretch is I'll do the same thing as I'll put my hand on the bottom of your forearm just to make sure that you are stretching the right muscles that we're trying to target. This is flexion, so these are the muscles that we are trying to stretch, so we have to do the opposite action, which is why we are extending the elbow. One reason I would want you to stop the stretch would be if your pain were to increase during the stretch. It should be relaxed and pain-free to prevent any further injury or any overuse. Any more overuse than you already have. The next thing that I want to address is your supination. So this is bringing the palm up towards the ceiling, kind of like this, and you see like my forearm has to rotate here. So this is an elbow motion. Most people think it's the wrist, but this is elbow. So the first reason why I chose to do this stretch with you is to help to increase your range of motion. I read that you have a 65 degrees in this motion, and the normal range is about 90 degrees, so this will help to increase your range of motion and allow you to perform it at full range. And the second reason why I chose to do this with you is to help with screwing in like screws or like if you're rotating a wrench or something like where you have to rotate your arm. I know that probably happens quite a bit when you're at work, so this will help with that. So you can do the full range and actually twist it in all the way. So for this stretch, what I want you to do is I want you to sit down anywhere with an even surface, so I will show you here. So I would want you to have your elbow, or not your elbow, your hand hanging off the edge of a table or any like surface just to make sure you have that full range. And then what I want you to do is I want you to grab onto your wrist with your thumb pointing up, and then all I want you to do is I want you to gently rotate your wrist to your palm facing down. So you're gently rotating it here, and you can even go a little bit further. And you should feel a stretch on the outside of your elbow here, so you can place your hand here to make sure that you're stretching the right muscles. This is something that you can do as you're doing the stretch to make sure you're stretching the right muscles. And then I will do the same thing to make sure that you're stretching the right muscles during this exercise. Is I will put my hand on the top of your forearm, like kind of underneath your elbow, and as you're doing that, I should feel those muscles start to stretch. A couple of things to keep in mind as you're doing that stretch. I want you to keep your shoulders level again. And as you can see, my elbow was pretty straight during that. You don't have to keep your elbows straight, but it's better that way because you can get more range of motion and use your wrist less, so you activate your elbow muscles more. And then I also want you to keep your feet flat on the floor if you're sitting, or sitting like flat. You should be steady. Your back should be straight, so you should have a nice straight back as you're doing this, as you're pulling this down. And then you should also, shoulders are level, feet flat on the ground, and your back should be straight. One thing that I don't want you to do while you're doing this stretch is I don't want you to like just move at your wrist, so just like doing like a this sort of a thing. You see how my hand back here is staying still because it's not moving, whereas if you're doing this, you can see that my forearm is moving and we're actually rotating the way that we want to. So if you find yourself moving at your wrist, make sure that you're moving your whole forearm. Like I said, one thing that you can do is place your hand on the top of your forearm, and I will do the same thing to ensure that you're stretching the right muscles. As you are rotating your hand or your forearm, we should be able to feel the muscles under your hands start to lengthen, and this will tell us that you are performing the stretch correctly. One reason I would want you to stop the stretch would be if you were to experience any pain. All of these should be pain-free. They should be really easy, but enough to challenge your flexibility and your strength, but no pain reproduction. So the next thing that I want to do with you is called elbow extension with the TheraBand. Now, if we were in clinic, I would be behind you holding the TheraBand. Since I'm at home right now, I would perform this the way that you would at home. So pretend this is your left elbow. Actually, let me tell you the reasons why I want to do this with you. So one reason I chose to perform this exercise with you is to help your strengthen this motion. I saw that your therapist rated you a 4 out of 5 in this motion, which means that you can do this motion against gravity with moderate resistance. This exercise will help you to increase that to a 5 out of 5 so you can perform the motion with maximum resistance. And the second reason why I chose to do this with you is to help you to carry and lower your toolbox at work and help to control the hammer in swinging it. So this will help you to return to work and get back to your previous working conditions. For this exercise, I want you to place your elbow on the table, starting with your hand at your shoulder. You can either hold on to the band with your other arm. So if we were doing the left arm, since it is your left arm, you would hold the band here, and then the other end of the band would be here, and you'd hold it with your palm facing towards your face, and then I would want you to slowly, with your elbow supported. So if I move you over here, I would want you to slowly bring the elbow down as far as you can, and then control it coming back up. So again, to show you, slowly coming down, coming back up, and then if I'm holding it here, slowly coming back down and coming back up. So a couple of things to keep in mind during this exercise. I want you to keep your shoulders level again, keep them nice and even, maintain good posture, and keep your back straight. And I want either your feet flat on the floor or for you to be sitting on like a stable surface as you're doing that. One thing that I don't want you to do as you're performing this exercise is I don't want you to move your wrist at all. It should be stuck in positions, so I don't want you to do this as you're coming down away from this. It should really all come from the elbow. We don't want to start overusing the wrist because that's also attached to the elbow, so we don't want to overwork it any more than it already is. So I really want you to focus on just bringing that whole forearm down and coming back up and letting all of the motion come from your elbow. One thing that you can do as you're performing this exercise is you can put your hand on the back of your arm. As you pull down, you should feel those muscles start to contract, and this will tell you that you're performing the exercise correctly. And then one thing I will do as you're performing this exercise is I will do the same thing. I'll have my arm on the back of my hand on the back of your arm, and I should feel those muscles start to contract under my hand, and this will tell me that you're performing the exercise correctly. One reason I would want you to stop the exercise would be if you were to quickly fatigue from it. So if it was too hard and you find yourself starting to tire your arm quickly, I'd want you to stop the exercise to prevent any more overuse than you already have. The last exercise that I want to do with you is called elastic band wrist pronation. So I don't really have a chair available right now, so I'm going to show you on the edge of this bed and not show you my dirty room. So obviously you would have an appropriate sized chair right now, but my chair is being taken up by the laundry right now. So what I would want you to do here is I'd want you to have a TheraBand, and I'd want you to place it on the underneath of your foot and have it nice and secure under your foot. And then I would want your arm kind of bent. You can rest it on your leg, but I want it to be pretty, just all the motion coming from your arm. And so I would have one end of the band under your foot, the other one is in your arm, or is in your hand, and your palm should be facing up. And all I want you to do is rotate your arm so that your palm is facing the floor, and then come back to your starting position. So to show you again, it would be coming this way. So my thumb is coming up and around against the resistance of the TheraBand, and to show you this way, it would be coming from here and back. So a couple of things to keep in mind as you're performing that exercise. I would hope that you're doing it in an appropriately sized chair, unlike I am. So I'd want your feet flat on the floor, your back straight again, and your shoulders level. And then I would want you sorry, I just lost my words. One thing that I don't want you to do as you're performing this exercise I wouldn't want you to just be rotating at the wrist. So again, to show you, I don't want you to just move at the wrist. I would want you to move at your whole forearm and come back. So not just doing like a half motion with just at the wrist. We really want to be recruiting that whole elbow. One thing that you can do to make sure you're performing the exercise correctly is you can put your hand on the bottom of your forearm. So as you turn over, so it would be like the palm side of your forearm. So as you turn over, you should feel the muscles underneath your arm start to contract as you start to do this. And that will tell you that you're performing the exercise correctly. So you're just putting your hand on the palm side of your forearm, and you should feel that start to contract as you are rotating your elbow to have your palm facing the floor. One reason I want you to stop performing this exercise if you were to feel any pain again, this should tire your muscles but not reproduce any pain, so that we can prevent any more overuse happening from that elbow. Okay, so that's what I would want to do with you in therapy, and then I've got a home exercise program here drawn out for you, so I will send this to you via email. So this is what that looks like. It's got a front and a back page, and this front page has some of the exercises I went over with you with. So the first thing that I want you to do at home would be that pronation stretch. So that would be the stretch where you'd have your elbow here, and then you would just rotate your palm facing down, and you can do it at the edge of the bed, so you can even come a little further in case you need that. So rest your arm on a flat surface with your elbow hanging over the edge if your motion allows you to do that. Grasp your wrist and gently rotate your left arm towards your palm, towards the direction of your palm facing down. Keep your elbow straight and resting on a table until you feel a tolerable stretch. And then once you feel a slightly uncomfortable stretch, hold the stretch for 30 seconds and repeat this stretch 5 times. Repeat once every day per week. If you're performing this stretch and on an unsteady surface and you have a fall occur, call your providing physical therapist, or if a serious injury occurs, then call your local emergency services. And then the next one that I want you to do is that band wrist pronation. So that was going to be the one where you're sitting on a proper chair. Your elbow is here. You've got your band secure under your foot, and then you're just bringing that thumb down to the floor, so that you'll start with your palm up and then facing towards the floor by bringing your thumb up and over. So to do this, tie a knot at both ends of the band and place one end of the band secure under your left foot, and the other end should be in your left hand. While seated, keep the band secure under your foot as you will be placing tension. And then once you're in position, start with your palm facing the ceiling, then gently rotate your forearm to have your palm facing the floor against the resistance of the band. Perform this exercise at a high intensity and do this exercise in 5 sets of 4 repetitions with a minute break in between. And then perform this exercise 2 times a day, 5 days a week. Again, if you're performing this exercise on an unstable surface, you could be at risk for falling. If a fall does occur, then call your providing physical therapist. And if a serious injury occurs, then call emergency services. I know that was a lot of information for you, so is there any of those exercises that you want me to go over, any of like the directions, or how long you should be holding them, how many times, or about any cautions or dangers that could be associated with them? Perfect. If you have any questions, just email me and we can follow up. It was nice to meet you today, Lorenzo, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.